One day when I came home from work, I saw that someone had spray painted a swastika outside my window. I thought to myself, hope it hasn't upset anyone. Then I sprayed over it with a red circle and an X.
Hallå?
Hej pappa! Jag ska gå på filmfestival i Tel Aviv, Israel.
Lycka till på resan. Du reser ju överallt hela tiden.
Men det ska bli kul den här gången.
Ja, det kan jag tänka mig. Och jag som tänkte att vi skulle resa dit tillsammans.
Men det vet ju att det inte går. Du är ju död.
Ja.
I'm on a bus with other film students. We're traveling around and showing our films at different locations in Israel. I'm looking forward to discussing film and learning more about Israel's history and the occupation of Palestine. When I was a kid, I had a book called The Girl with a Star. It was about a boy in the Hitler Youth. I also had another book called Jerusalem, Jerusalem, with drawings, photos, and Bible passages that praised Israel. I think it was written by a woman in a Christian cult. I think back to the swastika and realize it was meant for me and the menorah I had in my window.
Before the park, we're going to meet and get to know, because not everybody knows everybody. So everybody will say their names and what else. The park. And after the park, it's party time. That's it.
My dad, Joseph, was born in 1946, 1 year after World War II. He grew up in Szczecin in northern Poland. One day when he came home from school, he told his mother that he'd been in a fight with a Jewish kid. This was the first time my grandmother told him that he was also a Jew. My mother is Catholic. We went to church every Sunday, and on Saturdays I had Bible school. I was taught about Jesus along with all the other kids. I thought it was fun. I even served as the altar girl and helped the priest with the incense, candles, wine, and communion wafers.
So, where are you from?
I'm from Sweden, from Stockholm.
Oh, you're so dark for Swedish.
Yeah, I know, my parents are from Poland, so...
Okay.
My dad never told me why he had to leave Poland with his family and move to Sweden in the early 70s. The reason they moved was because of the Polish anti-Semitic campaigns. It caused my grandmother to lose her job as supervisor of all the national communist preschools in their city. Jews were called Zionists and thought of as a wandering group who conspired on behalf of Israel and the United States. The Jews were accused of both cosmopolitanism and nationalism. So why don't we visit the Palestinian city?
It's impossible.
Why?
It's complicated and illegal, and I don't feel like talking about it.
I still don't understand how my grandmother, Franziska, could hide her identity in Poland during the 50s. Everyone must have known that she was Jewish. She raised my dad, who was an only child. My grandfather could disappear for long periods of time without my grandmother knowing where he was. Then he would come back as if nothing had happened. One time it turned out he had been to Italy to get himself a new Borsalino hat. When I ask the other film students about the occupation of Palestine, I always get sarcastic answers and they start to avoid me. I begin to feel lonely and isolated. I really worry that no one will talk to me anymore. I asked my mom about the anti-Semitic campaigns in Poland during the late 60s. She said that all the Jews had the opportunity to leave the country. It was said that they were going to Israel and that it was excessive to call the campaigns anti-Semitic. Then she remembered when her family lived in a town outside of Warsaw and her brother was bullied and called a Jew. They'd taunt him and say, "You're a Jew, so soon we don't have to see you anymore."
The year 1884, the Jews in Eastern Europe don't have a future where they live. If they want to seek for dignity, they have to seek an entity for themselves, reclaiming the land.
Each day is packed with activities, lectures, trips to art museums and outings to national parks and the beach. In the evenings there are film screenings and parties.
Jag tror du ska mer åt höger. Och håll still.
Alltså,
Ser du?
ja...
Okej. Och håll ner så här.
Okej, så här.
Nej, vänta.
Okej, nu då?
Ja, precis.
You are a partner and it doesn't matter where you live. Someone in Eretz Israel is reclaiming the land for settlement. This is offered to use all around the world. Even though they are educated.
Listen, it's brainwash.
What is this? I didn't know we were gonna have this.
I've heard this all my life and I'm so sick of it.
This is keeping old stuff just fresh and infected.
Using all around the world.
The festive party atmosphere and the nearby occupation of the West Bank are in stark contrast. Just around the corner, the siege of Gaza has caused a humanitarian crisis. Under these circumstances, the last thing I want to do is party. Even though I don't discuss Palestine anymore, hardly anyone talks to me on the bus. I'm always alone. Apparently, this isn't uncommon. One Israeli film student tells me about a classmate who was ostracized for being an activist. I really want to learn about the places we go to, but no one tells us anything. Even though there is rubble everywhere, the guides don't tell us about the fact that the national parks were built on top of Palestinian villages that were destroyed.
Nu är det viktigt att alla använder de här. Jätteviktigt att ni skyddar er emot araberna.
My dad always used to have chocolate, nuts and grapes at his house. When I was at preschool, there was always a parent who'd dress up as Santa Claus before Christmas. He would call out the children's name and give you a Christmas present, like a tangerine. I was always sure that it was my dad who was Santa Claus. I could tell by his accent. The other kids didn't believe me because their parents also had accents, so we would get into a fight.
Starocie jak zwykle, cały program trąci myszką.
O, szwedzka telewizja. Takich starych żydowskich stereotypów nie widziałam od dawna.
Sara jest mała, ale może to na nią wpływa. Jak myślisz?
When I was 12, my dad disappeared. No one knew where he was. I used to call him on the phone over and over again, even though no one would answer.
Hallå Sara, hur har du det?
Jag vill inte vara kvar på den här filmfestivalen. De låtsas som att den här ockupationen inte finns. Först står vi och tittar på Gaza från en utsiktsplats med en guide som skämtar om hur fega Hamas blir när Israels armé går in och genomför militära aktioner. Det är som att människors utsatthet vore ett roligt litet skämt. Och sen i nästa sekund ska vi bada och festa på en strand. Och det är liksom ingen som vill prata om det här.
Ja, men har du varit vid Döda havet? Det ska vara jättefint där.
Jag tänkte åka vidare till Västbanken.
Vadå Västbanken, vadå?
Först Hebron och sen Ramallah.
Men jag har ju sagt åt dig att inte umgås med tyskar eller araber. Vill du att de ska hjälpa dig? Lilla dotter, vad du blir galen?
Jag vet att du har sagt det, men du har ju inte varit här, pappa. Du vet inte hur det är.
Och då inte vet jag vad det är. Jag vet vad det är. Jag har hört, jag kan läsa tidningar. Jag pratar med folk. Har du glömt Babcha?
Nej, det har jag inte.
Nej, hon hade en bit bröd i veckan och vindruvor som de hittade på berget. Hon var den enda som överlevde.
Men du har ju aldrig berättat något.
Nej, du gör som du vill du. Men kom ihåg vad jag sa.
Really bad for us. We are not equal by law. As Palestinians, we are under the military law. Someone who is attacking everyone is under the Israeli civilian law, despite that he has the gun. As Palestinians, imagine, we are guilty till we prove the opposite. If he says something to the police now, I will be arrested as guilty. But if I file a complaint against him, he is not guilty, he is innocent till the police proves the opposite.
Issa Amro is a Palestinian human rights activist in Hebron. He tells us about the violence and harassment against the Palestinians by the Israeli settlers. He explains how the occupation and its military laws discriminate and destroy the lives of the Palestinians who live here.
We can't live, we can't survive in Hebron. They can do whatever they like to us.
When I was 23, I found out that my dad was in a coma in a hospital in Gdansk. By then, I hadn't seen him in over 10 years. I go there and find my way along the hospital corridors to the ward where my dad is. By his bed, there's a red backpack with all his belongings. Glasses, a watch, passport, a wallet with 72 Polish zloty, and photos of my sister, her kids, and one of me from 5th grade. His arm is cold and damp. Bye, Dad, I say. The doctor shows me x-rays of my dad's brain. She tells me it's not looking good. Then she asks me to buy some necessities for him. I go downtown and buy water and some t-shirts. On the main square, loudspeakers play Polish techno. I rush back and forth between different pharmacies to find big enough adult diapers. Then I leave Gdansk. A few days later, my dad dies. I traveled to Ramallah in the occupied West Bank to visit a documentary film class at the Birzeit University. When I introduce myself and tell them about the bus trip, the Palestinian film students ask me what the Israeli film students say about Palestine and what their views are on the occupation. What's their discussion like? What do they say about us? Then I visit Dheisheh, a refugee camp outside of Bethlehem where Palestinian refugees have been living since 1949. The third generation of Palestinians are now living there. I find an old photo of me and my dad. It's from a car trip we went on through Europe. I think we're in Belgium somewhere. We've been driving all day, and in the evening we stopped in the city and took a walk. I'm in front of my dad and he's holding my arms. I have my hands on his. Dad looks happy and focused. I look happy and jumpy. I must have felt his big belly against my back.
So, how do you like it here in Ramallah?
I really like it.
But you're Jewish, right?
What? Yes. How could you know that?
I mean, come on, Eastern European, your hair.
Yeah, I guess it's quite obvious.
Då är vi snart framme vid Stockholms central, men först 2 korta stopp.
Hej, gick resan bra?
Ja, jag är snart framme.
Vad bra Sara. För nu vill jag höra om allt.
Ja, du ska få höra om allt. Jag ska berätta, jag lovar.